I feel like in this house, there are people grieving things that should have been, or we feel God should have done. And when we hold on to grief with a closed fist and come in the house of God, in the midst of your grief, our Father desires to be with you. So before we move forward, before the word of the Lord comes, somebody's got some grief to lift up. Why don't we lift our hands? We are not alive, not to trust you, Lord. You know what's best for me. In order for you to move, we must let what we listen to you.
Made its public debut on the pages of the Los Angeles Daily Times on April 8, 1906. A revival that grew with unparalleled speed, all starting from a small prayer meeting of some 15 people, including children, grew into an internationally acclaimed congregation of hundreds in just 3 months. As people began to be delivered from various habits such as tobacco, liquor, and all others, began to be healed, they left their crutches, braces, old smoking pipes, and the like against the walls. These souvenirs or testimonies to deliverance and healing became staple fixtures in the Pentecostal churches. Los Angeles physician and surgeon and hospital president, Miss Lillian Keys, have begun to not only speak, but write in tongues. William J. Seymour was an instrumental facilitator of this revival. In a testimony of Seymour speaks, he walks and talks with God. His power is in his weakness. He seems to maintain a helpless dependence on God, as simple-hearted as a child, and at the same time is so filled with God that you feel the love and power every time you get near him. Isaiah 58:6 says, "Is it not the fast that I've chosen, to loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, and that we break every yoke?" Fasting positions us for the complete and total use of God to execute his plan in this end time, and we cannot and must not attempt to carry out such a huge undertaking in the arm of the flesh. And with that being said, ladies, we are hosting our first quarter fasting and prayer shut-in. Fasting and prayer shut-in. This is going to be an incredible time of fasting for 3 days, starting Wednesday, the 28th, Thursday, and Friday will end with an all-night prayer shut-in. We're going to be shut in here in the sanctuary from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. God has already given us revival. The book of Joel talks about, in the last day, said the Lord, I will pour out of my spirit upon all flesh. We don't have to pray for what God already promised, to a place where we get before the King of Kings in prayer and in fasting. him.
Amen. Why don't we all stand to our feet and clap our hands? Welcome all of our guests and visitors that are with us. To those that are streaming online, we welcome you and thank you for joining us for service.